If ever there was a story of a wolf in sheep clothing and a perfect example of that, here is one. Listen, welcome back to SouFLoTV again, everybody. It is your host with the most. Lord God, take the case, Jesus, and give me the pillar. Sweet baby Jesus. Sweet baby Jesus. How I go on? Listen now. For all the people who've been asking SouFlo, so I go on with Mumma Christie, the lone female accused in the whole Klansman One Don gang trial situation. Well, her thing has come to a head. Let's talk about that. Shout out to the Jamaica Observer. You know we follow the thing right through and through. That's why we say hit the subscribe button, but hit the bell next to the subscribe button so you're notified when your videos go up on SouFLoTV, when new videos go up and the follow-up to the stories. Hear this first, right? Okay. They printed an article named Mumma, the sole woman in the gang trial, offers cops new rifles if he releases reputed Klansman leader from custody. Bribe. She a try bribe the officer according to testimony, my friend. Stephanie Christie, alias Mumma, the only woman in the ongoing Klansman gang trial, swore on her child's life to a police officer she was trying to bribe that if he let go the alleged leader of the Klansman gang, Andre Blackman Bryan, whom she said was her partner, if he was released from custody, that the gang would give him two Chris brand new Tallop. Tallop, for those of you who don't know, that means two brand new rifles, guns. A retired police with more than 30 years on the force, in the constabulary force, identified the accused for court in the ongoing trial of the men who had been accused with a grand flourish, stating that that's the great Mumma. That's how he addressed her in court, right? Do you know this lady sitting next to the in the witness box right here? The man get up and said, "That's the great Mumma." According to the former policeman, Christie, purportedly a pastor, made the vow that after he had turned down her initial offer of $100,000 to let go Andre Blackman Bryan, she said, "All right, you turn down the 100 grand, me give you two Chris new Tallop, or two Chris new rifle." He said that he had been conducting an interview with Bryan, who had been taken in for questioning in relation to extortion allegations in September of 2017 at the Spanish town CIB, when he was told that someone was outside to see him. Now, upon going outside, he said that he almost collided with Christie, who he was meeting for the very first time. He said that the diminutive woman engaged him in conversation for almost 2 hours, trying to convince him to let go her man. She approached me and she asked me if I was Mr. So-and-so, and I told her, yes, I am Mr. So-and-so. I asked her, who wants to know? And she says, I am the baby mother of Liberty Coke from Tivoli. The former policeman said this is how Mumma Christie introduced herself to him, and says, I am the baby mama of Liberty Coke from Tivoli. No one do with that piece of information right there. He said that when he asked her reason for wanting to see him, what you want to see me for? Whom other witnesses have testified was the liaison officer between incarcerated members of the criminal outfit, was also the link between the gang and rogue cops. This is the role that she has been identified to play. She was the liaison officer between incarcerated members of the criminal outfit, and she was also the link between the gang and rogue police officers who them having at them pocket. She would go tell who said what and convey messages and go visit whoever and come out and tell who said the Dan said to do this and the Dan says to do that and set up things and these kind of things. She said, "You have me G," meaning the general, referring to Bryan, "is my man, you know. You have me G, is my man, you know." He said she went further to tell him that she had heard that he was the one who had locked Bryan up and was picking up other gang members from off the streets as well. I said to her, I said, "Look at you. You have two of the biggest bad man them in a Jamaica. How you manage that?" And she laughed and she says, "Mr. So-and-so, the thing up like that, you know. The thing just up like that." The former, me have to laugh. The former lawman testified in court. Listen, you know, the man asked Mumma, you know, according to him testimony, you know. Remember, you know, SouFLo, now make up this. I'm reading this to you. Okay, this is the him ask her, "Look at you. You have two of the biggest bad man them in a Jamaica. How you manage that?" And she laughed and she said, "Mr. So-and-so, the thing does up like that, you know. The thing does up like that." The former lawman said, Bryan, who had been sitting upright, suddenly twisted sideways, bending his head way down. According to the retired policeman, Christie replied to get the G out and asked what she could do to assist. "This is what I'm here to do. I'm here to get the G out. And what could I do to assist?" He said when he informed her that he could not assist her, she stated to him and said, "Mr. So-and-so, things can happen, you know. Yeah, man, things can happen." I said, "Things can happen like what?" And she repeated, I said, "You have your badman friend them on each side, left and right. I, as a police, find myself in the middle. If things fig on, no shoot out that man. 2 gunman and 1 police. Me must dead." This is what he said to her. And she laughed at that. And she said, "Nothing like that, man. Nothing like that." So me say, "What you mean then?" The cops replied, "What do you mean then?" He said, Mumma Christie said, "I can give you 100,000 for release Blackman." The cop said he bristled at the suggestion, said he walked away from the accused, who then held on to him and said, cool no man, as he was walking away. "Come here, no man, come back, we'll talk about this stuff." I said to her, this me, no girl. This me. You have 2 of the baddest man them in a Jamaica, and you are look for me as a police, and I come offer me $100,000. You mad? Is what the former cop stated. She said, "Just cool, no man. Just calm down." By then, I started reflecting on my training and I said, "Okay, I need 2 rifles." The retired lawman said. He said that Mumma Christie, whose face got animated, cause she happy to hear that now, she replied, "Cha, that are the least, man. That are the least." He told the courts that when he asked Mumma Christie if she had control over such types of guns, she responded, "When the G come out, that are the least. We can get that. That are not nothing." The lawman said that it was when he issued his charge to Christie that she pledged her child's life. Before I left her, I said to her, "My girl, a serious thing me in, you know. Me need the gun them where you say me I go get. Me no want no old gun. What no want. I need Chris's." He said it, and he said that it was then that Christie hand raised up and she vowed in front of him when him tell her, say, "Me no want no old gun, you know. A serious thing this week, you know. Me want some brand new Chris's." She said, me swear pa me picnic life. Any how the G come out, that are no problem. Me swear pa me picnic them life. Anything to let him out. Anything to get Bryan out of lockup. This is the woman who's supposed to be a pastor, by the way, right? The police officer then testified. He said that the woman had also sought to bargain with him over the release of the other individuals who had been picked up. He told the courts that he had some 5 numbers of Christie who called and WhatsApp messaged him numerous times. He, in the meantime, went on to identify Andre Blackman Bryan from among the other accused at the courtroom. He pointed out, that's Blackman right there standing up now, but him look brown now. He is Andre Blackman, the lawman said, pointing with a broad smile. An equally beaming Bryan stood, grinning widely, with his mask removed from his face, fiddling with his pants waist before resuming his seat. So the police are laugh, and Bryan Blackman are laugh too, as he's being pointed out by the same police while the police is giving this testimony in court. Yesterday, the former police inspector said upon returning to Bryan after his encounter with Christie now, because remember he had Bryan inside questioning him already, right, at the CIB. Christie came, he left Bryan and went out to see who it was that wanted to meet him, and had that kind of a meeting where he was promised the 2 tall up them, the 2 new Chrisas them, big rifle, if him release Blackman. So after the conversation was done, the former inspector said upon returning to Bryan after his encounter with Christie, he told him, your woman come and I try strike a deal with me. The arrangement is to get 2 tall up. The former lawman said that Bryan laughed, and he said, cool man, no worry yourself about that. He said upon asking Bryan for a contact number, he supplied him with one that he had recognized of one of those numbers that was given to him by Christie. Remember, Christie gave him about 5 WhatsApp number, Asked Bryan for a number to contact him. Bryan gave him a number. One of the numbers, the number that Bryan gave him, matches one of the 5 numbers that he got from Christie. He said that he then jokingly remarked to Bryan and said, big man, you're good enough. Oh, you manage that thing there outside, referring to Christie. The only reason you're going to come out here this evening, you see, is because of your woman. But go on, man. Go on. He told the courts that he had not arrested Christie for trying to bribe him because it was his plan to use her to get information on the gang. He also testified that Christie, from time to time, pumped him for insider information, but said that he always misled her. Never told her the truth. Just gave her some runaround, right? And this is the pastor. And this is what was testified in court by a 30-year veteran of the force who is now retired. Now, let's forward to a little bit more about her. Pay attention, because she just got her piece from Judge Sykes yesterday. But I want you to understand who we're dealing with. Another article was printed that says Citipus acquitted in the Klansman case, right? And that I wonder about Citipus acquitted in the Klansman case. Jason Brown, otherwise called Citipus or Lucifer, has been acquitted in the long-running trial of the Klansman gang. Chief Justice Brian Sykes handed down the not guilty verdict on Wednesday. Brown, who is already serving a life sentence in another matter, had been accused of being a top-tier member of the Klansman gang, whom from his cell engineered and helped to plan criminal activities. The counts against Brown or Citipus, however, collapsed as he was not identified properly by any of the witnesses. The Crown's 2 main witnesses had said that they had never seen Brown but had always only spoken to him on the phone, so them couldn't properly identify him. One police witness, however, said that he had heard Brown's voice in threatening phone calls that were made to business operators in the Spanish Town area when he sought to extort them. Pay the money by Wednesday or batter go fly. Them kind of thing there. And that he also saw Citipus when he visited him at the Horizon Adult Correctional Facility to charge him for those threatening phone calls. He, however, failed to properly identify his voice when he appeared in court. So when the same police appeared in court, they actually tricked him. They played somebody else's voice, and he says, yes, that's it right there, that's him. And then they said, Your Honor, that was not him. That was James Bond voice that we played. So may we rest the case right now by saying that this police officer has failed to identify his voice. And that is what happened in court. So even that officer was not able to identify his voice. Therefore, he was not charged, or he was dropped from these charges. The trial judge said that on that basis, Brown was freed as there was no other evidence against him. The proceedings resumed Wednesday morning with 23 defendants still in the docks. 5 of them have since been freed, leaving 18 in the docks. The trial began in 2021 with 33 defendants originally. The sole defendant out on bail, Andre Smith, was killed. All right. So, Citipus beat Feme charges, but Citipus is not going anywhere because Citipus was already in there serving a life sentence. You see it? All right. Now, that same Citipus, seeing, he did not trust Pastor or Mumma Christie for nothing. That was also printed before. May I put you up to speed, pay attention, because I'm going to bring you up to what happened March 8th of 2023 in court concerning Mumma Christie. The courts hear of deep suspicion among the gangsters. Citipus, the alleged top-ranking member of the St. Catherine-based Klansman gang, who adopted the moniker Lucifer, had begun to distrust the sole female in the ranks of the criminal organization, that is Stephanie Christie, alias Mumma, who also purports to be a woman of the cloth, a pastor. Witness number 1, a former member of the criminal organization who has been giving evidence for the Crown, told the court on Friday that Christie, Mumma Christie, who is supposedly the pastor of a church in St. Thomas, was pegged by the mysterious co-conspirator, so far only identified as Citipus, in the trial as an informer. So Citipus looked at Mumma as an informer, and remember, the policeman testified and said that she and him used to exchange information, but he would always mislead her. Now, according to Citipus, Christie was behind the arrest of a number of the gang members and had engineered a shootout with the police in which 2 of his cronies were killed, as she do it. He had voiced his suspicion during a phone call with the witness, who at the time was working with the police unbeknownst to his former allies, recording those conversations and then turning them over to the police. The witness had recorded the phone call, and it was played into the records of the courts inside of the courtroom. Me have her as an informer. Our kind of position she can hold, that the girl can't expect anything. Brother. I must say house them a go buy a foreign. I can't voluntary work. Citipus is heard saying on the recording. Asked to explain what was the substance of that comment by Citipus, witness number 1 said, basically, he is saying that Mumma is the one going on ID parades and pointing out the persons. So he is saying she is the informer. She is the one that is going with the police and identifying some of their cronies as members of a illegal entity, the gang. And she can't be doing it for free. They must promise her something. That's what he was saying. That explanation by the witness triggered an exaggerated Jesus from Christie, who was seated in the docks and heard it while it was being played in court. She bawled out, Jesus! Citipus continued. The reasoning behind his accusation was further heard saying on the recording, "Me have it all over my head, a bun like ball, a boom like ball. Maybe a she run the program pan uno the other day, no." This, the witness explained, was in reference to a deadly gun battle with the police on Garbally Drive in St. Catherine after a dramatic car chase through the old capital where 2 gang members were killed. The witness, who was the third occupant of that vehicle, escaped unharmed and was taken into protective custody by the police, with whom he had been working undercover since 2018 to dismantle the gang. Wickedest thing, the girl moved the youth from where him did they know, Citipus stated, and according to the witness, the youth who the gangster was referring to had been his protege called Dino. The witness said Citipus had groomed Dino as a shooter. He said that Dino, who had been moved from Jones Avenue to a housing development in Old Harbor, had been killed, along with his brother known as Cake Soap. Now in the meantime, the witness further alleged that Mumma was not the only one in which Citipus was losing confidence, including in the number of the distrusted he said was the accused Jazeel Blake, alias Squeeze Eye, and accused Fabian Johnson, also known as Crocs. Citipus thought them two were also informants. According to the witnesses, he was the one to tip off investigators about the gang's plan to kill Squeeze Eye. He said based on that tip, the police had taken Squeeze Eye into custody. The witness said that Squeeze Eye had been marked for death because it was felt that he was a snitch, and as such, alleged gang leader Andre Blackman Bryan wanted him dead. Also on Friday, Bryan was heard during a phone call with the witness expressing confidence that he could not be prosecuted or that there was no witness who could peg him, similar to the way in which his rival Tesha Miller had been pegged by a witness, also a former gang member. So in the phone call that was played in court, you could hear Bryan saying, "None of them can send me to prison. None of them can point me out. None of them can do me like how them do Tesha." The testimony of that witness helped in the conviction of Miller, Tesha Miller, who is now serving a life sentence. Watch ya now. Watch ya now. Them come so boops. You see, if somebody are going to be a witness, them have to go in at the gang from Miller time for really be a good witness. You understand me? If you say I split the gang from Miller, that are the wickedest thing with them not have, Bryan is heard saying. At 2014, the law anti-gang legislation comes in, so nothing before 2014 can be used against me, Bryan said, calculatingly in the phone calls. Now, y'all remember, Bryan has been hit with about 5 murder charges so far at this point, and he is now in court. Last reports we heard 2 days ago was that he was bawling in the courtroom, legs shaking hard, and booger and snot flying out of him nose, yai water, whole heap of crying. Gangster was bawling. Now comes what a guan, right here so, with Mumma, up to date. As of March 8, 2023, this is the update for Mumma Christie. Pay attention. Alright, so as far as Mumma is concerned, Stephanie Christie, otherwise called Mumma, who is the sole female accused in the ranks of the Klansman gang and a so-called pastor, has been found guilty of being a member of the notorious criminal organization. Chief Justice Brian Sykes handed down the verdict on Wednesday afternoon. That was Wednesday, March 8th of 2023. So for those of you who've been asking, SouFLo, what going on with Mumma Christie? This Awagwan. She got found guilty of being a member of the organization. Chief Justice Bryan handed down that verdict on Wednesday. Christie she is said to be a top-tier member of the St. Catherine-based gang. In a fervently delivered unsworn statement, had described herself as a businesswoman and an entrepreneur who is known by many as a people person. That is how she described herself in court. I'm not no gangster. I'm not involved with any gang activities, Your Honor. I am a businesswoman and an entrepreneur who is known by many as a people person. She had claimed that her only MO was caring for the elderly and the young people by getting them into school. She told the courts that she also spearheaded community sports days and a major get-together which was so recognized it attracted sponsorships from several big-name companies. I am a philanthropist. I am a person of the people and the community. I look out for the youths them. I make sure they get into school. I make sure they are channeling their energies into positive things, keeping out of bad companies and all these things. That is how she presented herself in court, and she gave a feverish testimony about how good she was. However, witness number 2, who is a former gang member himself, admitted and then turned states what we call a snitch or whatever you want to call it. That witness had asserted and told the court that Christie was the link between the police force and the gang, and she was the one to source all the legal representation whenever a gang member ran afoul of the law. Christie was said to bankroll the legal fees from extortion monies. That is how she got the monies to pay the attorneys to get the members of the gangs out of jail, get them good attorneys and these things. The trial judge on Wednesday, in referring to recorded conversations which were entered into evidence featuring Christie in conversation with the witness, where she spoke of a corrupt cop who fed her with information, said it was consistent with the evidence of a police witness who said that Christie had tried to bribe him. So to understand now why I gave you all that other information before, because the police officer who had been on the force for 30 odd years before he retired, who came back and testified that he brought in Andre Blackman and he was questioning him, and Christie showed up, and Christie says she had a baby mother for Liberty Coke, and Andre Blackman Bryan is our man, our partner, and she want to free him, and she offered the police officer 2 rifle after she offered him $100,000, and he said him no want that, that's an insult, right? And he planned to use her. Okay, that conversation apparently was recorded, played in court, and that is how they got her, right? That is how his testimony matches the conversation where Citipus was saying she is this, she is that, she is the go-to between the gang and the corrupted police. But the police wasn't corrupted. The police was stringing them along all along and taking notes and planning to testify against them, building their case. Seeing? All right, so she's caught. She's caught in the web. The trial judge on Wednesday, in referring to recorded conversations which were entered into evidence and played in court, featuring Christie in conversation with the witness where she spoke of a corrupt cop. Her own conversation was played in court where she was telling them about this corrupt police where feed her information, not knowing that that police was already onto her and was giving her twisted information, not real information. The judge says, yep, that's it. Consistency with the proof. He said the evidence in the case showed cumulatively her role and her function within the criminal organization. Christie, Mumma Christie, in maintaining her innocence, she said, I am not part of any gang. I am a people person. I jump around and help everybody. That's what I do. She added that she knew gang leader Andre Blackman Bryan because she grew up with him in Jones Avenue section of Spanish Town and they attended the same high school. But she emphasized that she was employed to a stationery store and a cereal making company in the time before her arrest. Christie had also denied knowing witness number 1, who had testified that she was a high-ranking member of the gang for longer than 7 months. She went on further to point out that she only knew about 6 of these men that are in this gang, arguing that if there was indeed a criminal organization and if she ranked as highly in the structure as this witness said, she would have known more of these members. I never go nowhere to commit no crime. That's it, my lord, she said in the courtroom at the time. I never go nowhere to commit no crime. That's it, my lord. That's it. Guest number 3 says, amen and amen again. Now go spend the rest of your miserable lives behind bars. The next person says, church woman? Really? Another person says, me mumma gone to prison. Well, she can use our people person skills with the other inmates in there, and I am sure that there is such a need. And another person says, I do hope that they will see the light of day on this side of the globe ever again. They will not see the light of day on this side of the globe ever again. As you sow, so shall you reap. Okay, so all she has been found guilty of so far is being a member of the Klansman gang. Now remember, Mumma Christie has been accused of being a part of murders as well. We have not heard anything about her being found guilty of being a part of any murder, whether it was accessory to, before, after, or during. And that charge could carry a whole lot of time. She doesn't have to be the person who actually did the killing. I'll give you a good example. Tesha Miller right now was hit with 38 years before he is eligible for parole. Tesha Miller is on a charge where he wasn't charged with being the one to pull the trigger. He was charged with accessory before and after. So if Mumma Christie gets caught up later on as this trial is wrapping up and she gets found to be guilty in any way further than just being a member, I don't know what those charges carry, just being a member of a gang. Because I've never heard of anybody goes to prison for a long time for just being a member of a gang. Now, if you're a member of a gang and you committed murder in furtherance of the gang, then that's a whole nother story. So we will continue to stay close to this story to see what happens. But so far, for the people who are asking, this is what has happened to Mumma Christie so far. Mumma Christie has been found guilty of being a Klansman gangster. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell next to the subscribe button so you're notified every time a new video and an update goes up on SouFLoTV. And I'll catch you later for the next video. I'm out. Peace.